Namo Namaha, Bhavtam Sarvesham, Hardum Swagatam. Welcome back to my channel Sanskrit Sopanam. I hope you are doing great. I'm also good. And so far, we have covered 10 shlokas from the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. And before moving on with the 11th shloka that we will decode today, as I mentioned in the last video also, I will quickly give a recap of all the Sandhi rules that we have encountered so far in the 10 shlokas. And the reason I'm doing this Sandhi recap is the key importance of Sandhi rules in understanding any Sanskrit literature, not just Bhagavad Gita. So a very key concept, and since we don't take Sandhi in our videos because everything is available in the PDF file that I attach with the videos, but since I don't know how many of you actually download that PDF file and go through these Sandhi sections, so for all these reasons I decided that let's quickly recap all the Sandhis that we have covered up to 10 shlokas. So as you can see, I have listed down all the unique Sandhis that we have covered so far up till 10 shlokas that we have done. But before I start with these examples, let me just share two things about Sandhi. The first thing is Sandhi happens between the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word. Okay, what do I mean by that is simple. If these are the two words samavetaha and yuyutsavaha, the sandhi will happen between the last letter of first word samavetaha. So last letter is visarga, right? And the first letter of the second word. So yuyutsavaha, the first letter is ya. So sandhi will happen between visarga and ya. This is the basic premise for the sandhi rules, most of the sandhi rules. Okay, and the next thing is this mridu vyanjan. So this mridu vyanjan term you will use in many of the sandhi rules that I have mentioned in the PDF file. By mridu vyanjan, I simply mean a combination of three things. First, vowels. Vowels or swara, a, I, all those vowels and swara. Second, semi-vowels. So what are the semi-vowels in Sanskrit? Ya, ra, la and va. All these four letters. These are the semi-vowels. Okay. So first is vowel, second is semi-vowel. Okay. And the third thing is the last three letters of any consonant group. Now what is a consonant group or varg? So I hope you remember from the grammar section videos. Consonant group is ka, kha, gaga, anga, 5 consonant groups. Ka varg, ka, kha, gaga, anga. Then you have cha varg, cha, cha, ja, ja, ya. Then you have ta varg or ta group, ta, ta, da, da, na. So all these 5 groups are vargiya vyanjan. Okay. And last 3 letters of these varg simply means, suppose you take example of ta varg. So what are the last 3 letters of ta varg? So it is ta tha, the first two, and da dha na. So if da dha na, any of these come here, so it will qualify as a mridu vyanjan. So these were the two premises that applies to all the sandhi rules mostly. That's why I just wanted to clear them off. Now coming to the sandhi that we encounter in the first shloka, that is visarga lop sandhi. Lop simply means disappearance, disappear. Okay. Now the sandhi says, if after an aha you have a mridu vyanjan, any of the mridu vyanjan, then visarga disappears. This is a visarga lop sandhi, simple as that. Now let us see our words. Samavetaha yuyutsavaha. So samavetaha, okay, we have a, that is right, samavetaha. And yuyutsavaha, the first letter is ya. And ya belongs to semi-vowel, right? Ya, ra, la, va. And semi-vowel, vowel, all these, they can be termed as mridu vyanjan. So yes, this sandhi qualifies visarga lop, and that's why the visarga, it disappears. And the actual word in the Sanskrit words samaveta yuyutsavaha without visarga. So this is the sandhi visarga lop sandhi. Okay, now let us move on to the sandhis that we have encountered in the second shloka. So the first is dIrgha sandhi. dIrgha sandhi, very simple, very common sandhi, very easy to understand. Either of the a, when combines with either of the a, the result is always dIrgha a or the long a. dIrgha simply means long in Sanskrit, and that is what is happening here. Pandavanikam. So the word Pandavanikam, if you see, the last letter of first word Pandava is a and Anikam, and the first letter of the second word is also a. Okay. So Pandav a, Anikam, and this combination will always written the dIrgha form, the long form of the vowel. So the result become Pandav plus a plus Nikam. Combined together, the result is this. Pandava Nikam. Simple as that. The same thing applies for E and U also. So E, either of the E, when combines with either of the E, the result is always the long form of the E. And here also, the result will always be a long form of the U if any of the U combines together. Let us see the example. Satish. Satish the word is sati plus isha. So you see here, in the first word, the last letter is small e. And in the second word, the first letter is a long form of e. But whatever happens, the result is always the long form. And so, sati plus isha, the result is satisha. And the same can be understood for bhanuday also. That bhanu, when it combines with uday, bhanu actually means sun, and uday, rise of. So bhanu when combines with uday, so u combines with a small u, but anyways the result will always be the dIrgha u, and the answer is bhanuday. Simple as that. Okay, so let's move forward. The second sandhi is satva sandhi. Again a very simple sandhi. When after visarga either of ta, tha or sa comes, in place of visarga sa comes. This is the satva sandhi. Let us see here Duryodhana tada. So after visarga you have tada, right? So you have visarga, then you have tada. So you have a ta. And this sandhi activates, and instead of visarga, sa comes. So what happens is Duryodhan, then sa, then tada. And the result becomes Duryodhanas tada. Duryodhanas tada. That is the result. That just in place of visarga, a sa comes. Okay, sa with halant. That's why it is written as a half sa. Okay, and this Satu Sandhi, no, it actually have three parts, two more parts to it. What is that? That after visarga, here you had ta, tha or sa. But now if you have cha, cha or sha, so instead of visarga, sha will come. This is also part of Satwa Sandhi. And similarly, if after visarga, you have ta, tha or sha, then in place of visarga, sha will come. Simple as that. Actually, this one we have example also in the shlokas. Okay, virataha cha. You see, virataha cha. So after visarga, you have a cha. So if cha, cha or sha comes, in place of visarga, this sha will happen. So viratascha. This again a part of Satu Sandhi only. But this is how you understand how the Sandhi is operating. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the Sandhis that we encountered in the third shloka. So pashyetam, it becomes pashaitam. How so? vRddhi Sandhi is happening. What does vRddhi Sandhi says? It says if either of a that is short or long combines with a or I, the result is always I. So pashya, if I put a halant, you can separate the a that is included in it, then a, and then you have tam. Okay, the sandhi happens between a plus a, and a plus a will always return I. So what happens? Pashya, then you have I, then you have tam. The resultant word becomes pashyaitam. This is what is happening here, vRddhi Sandhi. Okay. And similarly, the same happens for O and O also. That if after either of the O or O comes, the result is always this dIrgha O. That is O. Okay. Paramaushadhi, the example word. So if you can apply the Sandhi Vichhed to it, param plus Aushadhi. Okay. This is the Aushadhi simply means medicine. Param of highest quality, right? So Param Aushadhi, when they combine together, A from the Param combines with O will always return O. So Param Aushadhi. This is what is happening. So this is vRddhi Sandhi. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the Sandhis we have in the fourth shloka. So we encountered this word Maheshwasaha. This is a Samas word, combination word. When we open it, it becomes Maha Ishwasaha. The Sandhi that is happening is guNa Sandhi. guNa Sandhi, again a very important Sandhi. Actually, all the Sandhis are important, so I should not say that. What is the Sandhi says? If either of a short or long, combines with either of the E, short E or long E, the result is always A. Okay, let us see in the example word. Maha Ishwasa. So you have Maha, then you have A, then you have Ish, E, and then you have Shwasaha. I've just done the one Vichhed. Okay. So Sandhi will happen between A and E. The result will always be A. Right. So Maha, this Maha plus A plus Shwasaha. The resultant word becomes Maheshwasaha. This is the Sandhi. That either of the A combines with either of the E, result becomes A. Both of these both of these letters gets modified into A. And the similar thing happens with U also, that after any of the if either of the U comes, the result is always O, as we see in the word Suryodaya. So now you can do the Sandhi Vichhed yourself. Suryodaya is Surya plus Uday. Okay. So you have A from the Surya. If you put the halant in the Ya, you have the hidden A. And then you have the U. They both combine together to form O. And the result becomes Suryodaya. Okay. Suryodaya. So it is simply a samas word. That means Suryasya Uday. Suryasya Uday iti Suryodaya. That rise of sun is Suryodaya. That is the word, and this is how the gun sandhi happens. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so we have already seen this satva sandhi already. Yuyudhanaha virataha. This becomes yuyudhano virataha. What is happening? Utva sandhi is happening. What is utva sandhi? If after aha there is any mridhi vyanjan except a, so you this aha changes into o. This is the sandhi rule. So yuyudhanaha virataha. So from yuyudhanaha you have aha, the last in the last letter, right? And virataha you have va in the first letter. Va belongs to semi vowel, and semi vowels they all belong to this mridu vyanjan category. So in place of aha, o will come, and that is what happened. So yuyudhanu virataha. This visarga changed into o. Yuyudhanu virataha. This is Uttu Sandhi, simple as that. And so now let's move to the last two Sandhis that we had in the previous shloka that we did, 10th shloka. Okay, so Tad Asmakam, it opens as Tat Asmakam. And what is happening is just to Sandhi, it is happening. Now what does the Sandhi say is simple. If the last letter of the first word, it belongs to either of these 5 letters, Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa. And what is common between these 5 letters is they all are the first letter of the consonant groups. So you have ka varg, cha varg, ta varg, 5 consonant groups, right? So these are the first letter of those consonant groups. So if the last letter of the first word belongs to either of these ka, cha, ta, ta, pa, and the first letter of the second word belongs to mridu vyanjan. What is a mridu vyanjan? Either a vowel or a semi vowel or the last 3 letters of any consonant group. So in our example word here, tat asmakam, the last letter is ta. Okay, for the first word. And the first letter is A for the second word. Now what happens is third letter of that consonant group. So in place of this letter, the third letter of that consonant groups happen. So ta varg, the third letter of ta varg is da, right? Da. So ta changes into da, and that is what has happened here. Tadasmakam. So instead of tat asmakam, when they combine as tad asmakam, because this ta, it changes into the third letter of its consonant group, ta, tha, da, that is this, da, tad asmakam. Okay, you have seen this word, no, Jagadish. Jagadish is also using this same sandhi because it opens as Jagat Ish. So you see this, ta, it changes this consonant into the third letter of its group. So ta, tha, da. And that's why we say Jagadish. But the actual word is Jagat Ish. That one who is the Lord of the entire world. Jagataha Isha iti Jagadish. So it is a samas word. But this is how the sandhi is happening. And that is just to sandhi. So very important sandhi. A lot of times you will encounter this sandhi. And that is why I said it is a bit tricky to understand. Because a bit elaborate in how this sandhi works. But no problem. So anyways, let's move on to this next sandhi, yaNa sandhi. Again, a very important sandhi used quite often, and let us understand what the sandhi says. It says, if after either of a U, any swara, that means vowel, any of the vowel comes except the same, then in place of U, this will come, va will come. Okay. And when we did the letters no in our grammar series, I told you this thing that va, it actually comes from U only. So you say U and then you say a. So uva. So va happens from this U sound. And similarly ya, this happens from E sound. So you say E and then you say a. So iya, iya. So that ya sound comes. So va, it actually comes from this U only. And this ya, the semi vowel, it actually comes from this E only. So this sandhi actually we practice also while we name these consonants. So anyways, the example words tu idam. So the word opens as ta plus u plus e plus dama. Okay, one viched. The sandhi happens here if after u any of the vowel come except the same. So in place of u, what will come? Va will come. And that is what happens. So ta plus va plus idam. So the resultant word becomes twidam. This is how the word changes, twidam. And similar thing happens with e also, that changes into ya. So you see this word yadyapi. Yadyapi is a very common word. It is actually an indeclinable avyay in Sanskrit. Yadyapi means even though, even if. So yadyapi is actually yadi plus api. Yadi actually means if, and api, this actually means also. The combination itself tells you the meaning. If also. Anyways, yadi plus api, when they combine, what happens is yad plus e plus a plus p. E a, when they combine together in this way, instead of e, ya will come. So instead of e, ya will come. And that is what happens. So yadyapi. This is the actual word that forms yadyapi. Okay, this letter, no, don't confuse. This letter, if you remember, this letter only means this. So dya. This is a combination letter. And so that was the recap of all the sandhis we have covered so far up till 10 shlokas. And mind you, all these sandhis are going to repeat again and again quite often. This is actually the major section of sandhis that we are ever going to encounter. And once you know them for every text in Sanskrit. So I hope it cleared out some confusion if you had any about the Sandhi rules. And I hope that from now on you are going to read the Sandhi sections that I mentioned in the PDF file. Very important and again intuitively easy to understand once you know the rules and you have practiced it long enough. Okay, so now let's return back to the shloka in hand.